Bang, bang. The patrolling night watchman beat his wooden clappers in a steady rhythm. The sounds spread into the tall houses on stilts. Fang Yuan opened his dry eyelids while silently thinking, it's already the hour before dawn. He had been lying in bed thinking for a long time last night, coming up with many plans. He had probably only slept for a little over 2 hours. This body hadn't started cultivating yet, so its energy wasn't vigorous, and his body and mind were still shrouded in exhaustion. However, with 500 years of experience, Fang Yuan had long ago forged a determination as hard as steel. This kind of sleep-deprived exhaustion was nothing to him. He immediately shoved aside the thin silk blanket and got up cleanly. He opened the window and found that the spring rain had stopped. The mixed fragrance of earth, trees, and wild flowers greeted him. Fang Yuan felt his head clear, the sleepiness washing away completely. The sun had not yet risen, and the sky was still a deep, dark blue, neither dark nor bright. Looking around, the tall houses made of green bamboo and wood contrasted with the mountain, forming a sea of pale green. The tall houses had at least 2 floors. It was the unique structure of the mountain folk. Due to the mountain's uneven terrain, the first floor consisted of massive wooden stakes, while the second floor was where people resided. Fang Yuan and his brother Fang Zheng were staying on the second floor. Young Master Fang Yuan, you're awake. I'll go upstairs and wait for you to wash up. At this moment, a maiden's voice floated up from downstairs. Looking down, Fang Yuan saw his personal servant, Shen Kui. Her looks were only slightly above average, but she was well dressed. Shen Kui wore a green robe with long sleeves and trousers, had embroidered shoes on her feet, and a pearl hairpin in her black hair. Her body, from head to toe, radiated youthful vitality. She looked happily at Fang Yuan while carrying a basin of water and walked upstairs. The water was at the right warm temperature and was used for washing his face. After rinsing his mouth, he used a willow twig with snow salt to clean his teeth. Shen Kui waited gently, her face wearing a smile and her eyes as lively as spring. After he was done, she helped Fang Yuan get dressed, her plump breasts rubbing against his elbow or his back a few times during the process. Fang Yuan's face showed no expression, his heart was as calm as water. This servant girl was nothing but his aunt and uncle's watch-eye, and a vain, heartless girl. In his previous life, she had captivated him, but after the awakening ceremony, when his status plummeted, she quickly turned her head away and gave him countless disdainful looks. When Fang Zheng arrived, he was just in time to see Shen Kui smoothing the creases on Fang Yuan's chest. His eyes had a flicker of jealousy. After living together with his older brother for these years, he also had a servant waiting on him, under Fang Yuan's care. However, his servant was not a youthful girl like Shen Kui, but a fat, broad old woman. I wonder what it feels like to have Shen Kui wait on me like this someday. Fang Zheng thought to himself, yet he didn't dare to. His aunt and uncle's biased love for Fang Yuan was no secret to anyone. Originally, he didn't even have a servant to wait on him. It was Fang Yuan who had decided to take the initiative and ask for one for Fang Zheng. Although there was a status difference between master and servant, Fang Zheng usually didn't dare to underestimate Shen Kui. This was because her mother was Mother Shen, who stood beside his aunt and uncle. Mother Shen was the caretaker of the entire household. Having the full trust of his aunt and uncle, her authority was not small. All right, no need to tidy up. Fang Yuan impatiently brushed away Shen Kui's soft hands. His clothing had long been tidy, she was just trying to seduce him. For Shen Kui and the brightness of her future, the possibility of Fang Yuan having an A-grade talent was huge. If she could be his concubine, she would be able to elevate from servant status to master. It was quite a big step. In his previous life, Fang Yuan had been deceived by her and had feelings for Shen Kui. After his rebirth, his heart was as clear as a blazing fire and as cold as ice. You can leave. Fang Yuan didn't even look at Shen Kui as he tidied his own sleeve cuffs. Shen Kui pouted slightly, feeling that Fang Yuan's puzzling behavior today was rather odd and upsetting. She wanted to reply in a spoiled way, but being scared by his cold and confusing nature, her mouth opened and closed a few times before she ended up saying, yes, and retreating obediently. Are you ready? Fang Yuan asked Fang Zheng. His younger brother stood in the doorway, his head bowed down to look at his toes. He muttered a light, yes. Fang Zheng had actually been awake since the fourth watch, too nervous to fall back asleep. He had quietly gotten out of bed and gotten ready a long time ago, his eyes having dark circles. Fang Yuan nodded. In his previous life, he wasn't clear about his younger brother's thoughts, but in this life, how could he not understand? But right now, it was meaningless to him, and he lightly said, then let's go. So the two brothers left the house. On the way, they bumped into many youths of a similar age, all in groups of twos and threes, quite clearly heading to the same destination. Look guys, those are the Fang brothers. Their ears could pick up the small, cautious talk. The one walking in front is Fang Yuan. He's the Fang Yuan who created the poems, some of them emphasized. So that's him. His face is expressionless as if he had no regard for others, just like the rumors say. Someone said in a sour tone filled with jealousy and envy. HMPH, if you were like him, then you could also act like that. Someone coldly replied against the person, hiding a kind of dissatisfaction. Feng Zheng listened expressionlessly. He had long been accustomed to this kind of discussion. With his head low, he quietly followed behind his older brother. By now, the light of dawn had peeked over the horizon, casting Fang Yuan's shadow over his face. The sun rose gradually, but Fang Yuan suddenly felt like he was walking into darkness. This darkness was coming from his older brother. Perhaps in this life, he would never be able to escape from the huge, imprisoning shadow of his brother. He felt a burst of pressure on his chest, making his breathing difficult. This damned feeling was even making him think of the word, suffocate. HMPH, this talk is a good example of the saying, those of outstanding talent easily bring about jealousy from others, Fang Yuan thought with a sneer as he listened to the gossip around him. No wonder when it was announced that he had C-grade talent, he would be surrounded by enemies and suffer harsh, disdainful coldness for a long time. Behind him, Fang Zheng's breathing got dreary, and he tried to stop listening. What Fang Yuan didn't manage to realize in his previous life, he could perceive in the finest detail in this life. This was the ability of keen insight that he had gained from 500 years' worth of life experiences. He suddenly thought of his aunt and uncle and how scheming they were. Giving him Shen Kui to monitor him and giving his younger brother an old wet nurse, not to mention other things in life that were different between them. All these actions had intentions. They wanted to cause unhappiness in his younger brother's heart and instigate a rift between the brothers. People aren't worried about whether they receive less. People worry about whether what they received is poorly distributed. In his previous life, his experiences were too few, while his younger brother was too foolish and too naive, so his aunt and uncle successfully instigated a rift between them. After being reborn with the awakening ceremony before him, it seemed like the situation was difficult to change. But with Fang Yuan's evil ways and wisdom, it's not like the situation couldn't be changed. His younger brother could be entirely suppressed, and he could turn that young Shen Kui into a concubine early on. Not to mention his aunt and uncle and the clan elders, he had at least several hundred ways of beating them. But, I don't feel like doing that. Fang Yuan sighed carefree. So what if it was his own younger brother? Without the blood relation, his younger brother was just an outsider. He could easily give him up at any time. So what if Shen Kui got any prettier? Without love and loyalty, she was just a heap of flesh. Keep her as a concubine? She's not worthy. So what if it was his aunt and uncle, or the clan elders? They're just passers-by in life. Why waste effort and energy to beat these people? Hee. As long as you don't get in my way, then you can go aside and scram. I don't need to care about you.